So, I'm going to be talking about something much different than usual today. A kidnapping, but still related to TV in a way because it was Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie's mom that seems to have been abducted. Savannah has been at the Today Show since 2012 and was gearing up to help cover the Winter Olympics, but those plans have changed because over the weekend her mother went missing. Nancy Guthrie is the 84-year-old mother of Savannah and was last seen on Saturday night, January 31st, at her home in the Catalina foothills area of Tucson, Arizona. She was dropped off by family members that night. The next day, Nancy failed to appear at church, which she went to every Sunday, and the church quickly contacted family members. The family members went to her home and did not find her there, and investigators observed conditions at the home that they considered concerning, and they said that evidence suggested that Nancy Guthrie did not leave voluntarily. All of Nancy's belongings, like her purse, wallet, and cell phone, were all still in the home. What was found in her home, though, was some blood, and since Nancy wasn't exactly very mobile, investigators believe she was abducted and taken straight out of her bed.
She is very limited in her mobility, right? We know she didn't just walk out of there. That we know. She did not leave on her own. The family, all of the family has been very cooperative with us. They're working with us. They're staying in touch with us. They have complete access to anybody on this department. Savannah has been in touch with us as well.
The county sheriff, Chris Nanos, stated investigators believe Nancy Guthrie was abducted from her home. The sheriff said, investigators do not believe she left on foot or willingly. He stated that the belief was that the abduction occurred at or from the residence and potentially while she was sleeping. Motives are, of course, still very unclear with this entire situation, but what got me thinking was how often I hear about the elderly disappearing under strange circumstances these days.
The number of seniors reported missing is on the rise, and an advocacy group is now warning the problem will only get worse. With an aging population, CanAge says it expects the trend to continue because of cognitive impairments like dementia and Alzheimer's.
It is, of course, known that many elderly people with Alzheimer's or dementia tend to wander off and get lost often. But that is not exactly what I'm talking about here. There is many documentation in people taking advantage of the elderly when it comes to money, and elderly fraud is on the rise, but that's also not quite what I am talking about here.
Somerville police still searching for the man who kidnapped an 89-year-old woman from her home on Sunday.
Now we're hearing from neighbors in the Pine Forest Country Club community for the first time. Our Emily Deanne reports they are on edge and searching for answers.
Thankfully, the woman is still alive after the horrendous ordeal, but the man who police say stuffed her in the backseat of her own car and drove cross county lines remains at large.
I've noticed that in the news more and more, there are reports of these abductions. Whether the elderly person has memory issues or not, they are easy to take advantage of. Where I grew up in small town Colorado, there were a couple of cases in the past few years where they believe an elderly person was kidnapped because it just seemed that they disappeared out of thin air. Last year in South Carolina, an 89-year-old woman was targeted in an abduction when a man on the other side of the country was involved with her brother who had passed away and was upset when some sort of payments from the family stopped coming in. So this man went across the country, went to the victim's home, used bear spray on her, and bound her with duct tape and a dog leash. Luckily for this woman, a witness reported suspicious activity and police launched a manhunt. The victim was discovered hours later, and she was hidden under rear folding seats in her car, which was abandoned in a place in North Charleston. She was found with a plastic bag over her head, but had poked holes in it to breathe. Luckily, that man was taken down for doing this to the poor older woman.
Police say Enver Zeros traveled to Somerville from California specifically for this attack. The victim's caretaker says he was a longtime acquaintance of hers, but that she didn't know what he looked like.
I can tell you with all certainty, when I was on the scene that night, I did believe she was already deceased.
Police say a call from a concerned resident likely saved their elderly neighbor's life.
I also recalled hearing a story from Southern California when I still lived there over the summer.
In this quiet Rancho Cucamonga neighborhood, exactly what happened at this home on Danville Drive remains very much a mystery. The lawn is overgrown, the garage door covered in handprints, and the man who lives here, 74-year-old Naiping Ho, hasn't been seen in months.
The family thought they were still in contact with the man, Naiping Ho, whose name I'm probably butchering was his name. But they had not physically seen the man in a couple of months, even though they were texting with who they thought was the man. But anytime they would text him wanting to see him, he would say he was tired and he didn't want to travel to see them. This was not a man with Alzheimer's, at least they didn't know of that, or dementia. But eventually they made the discovery that his place was totally cleared out. No furniture. The walls were painted over frantically, and they believe, and authorities believe, that somebody had been impersonating the man with his phone.
Somebody might be impersonating my dad via text message.
Wen Ho is Naiping Ho's son, who's made a fortune in cryptocurrency, even donating $1.1 million to the USC Keck School of Medicine. They say earlier this year, Ho had a major water leak at his home, requiring tens of thousands of dollars in repairs and dozens of workers at the property.
He did not mention anything that's suspicious. We know that he was getting bids from multiple contractors.
Not long after the remodel was completed, Wen Ho went on a fishing trip with his father, but he hasn't seen him since. He's been able to text with him, or at least whoever has possession of his phone. You see, when he'd ask his dad via text if, for example, do you want to come over and visit the grandkids, the text messages he'd get in return were becoming very brief, very sterile.
He would say, "Oh, I'm tired."
They later discovered that over $1 million was drawn out of his accounts. So here we are 7 months later from that, and still no break in that case. But it was a crazy situation that to me shows that you should try to physically see an older loved one more often, whether it's in person. But if you can't do it in person, then I think more often on FaceTime might be good. You might have to teach the elderly how to use FaceTime if they don't know how. But I think you need to make sure it is really them that you are talking to, because people are taking advantage of the elderly in every way. And I think it's on the rise. I see more and more and more of these stories over the past few years than I recall ever seeing before. Because these are just a few accounts of many more elderly abductions that have happened in the 2020s. So we will see what comes out of the disappearance of the Today Show anchor Savannah's mother being napped. But to me, this kind of thing might just start happening more and more because people are becoming more and more desperate. So look out for older loved ones out there if you can.
And Savannah Guthrie posting about her mom's disappearance on social media for the first time. And she is asking for prayers. She said in part, quote, "Raise your prayers with us and believe that she will be lifted by them in this very moment."